All right. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Great to see you, and thank you all so much for being here. Some of you know we were going to gather in February. That was when we originally thought about doing this. We had the great snowstorm that turned out not to be a snowstorm, which was very disappointing for us, but great that we could pull it back together and that you could all join us here this morning. So welcome in, and it's a gorgeous day for this. You're all friends and family. I know that so many of you obviously know each other and know us. And so I appreciate all of you, all of our funders who are here. It's always risky to call anybody out because you know you're going to forget somebody else. So I'll just say all of you wonderful funders. And we have government representatives here as well from New York City and from the Department of Commerce. And I think even the state, I was told. So that's wonderful. And I certainly want to thank the team at Lyft that made this happen. Thank you very much, everybody. And I want you to at least, I know you've met some Lyft people, but Angie Garling, who is the bomb and drives it all. You should raise your hand and acknowledge. So my job is easy. I'm welcoming you in and saying a few things and then getting the hell out of the way. That's my highest and best use. And frankly, as I thought about this and realized who was going to be here, I feel like I'm not only preaching to the choir, but I'm preaching to the choir and the priest and the patrons and the diocese. And there's just so many people who are deep in this work. But nonetheless, here we are, and here I am. Today, my message in opening for this wonderful panel that we're going to have today, my message is simple and direct to help us kick off. It is not news to you that we're in a crisis in terms of early care and education. But what is news is that Lyft is making a huge difference in this work and that we have a strong plan to scale the work and specifically to scale what we're doing in New York City, where we've been for almost 10 years doing this work. We all know the issues. You all know the issues. Parents can't pay more. Operators and workers can't earn less. And our kids cannot continue to be locked out of the system because of a lack of centers, operators, and workers. This is true nationally, and it's very acute here in New York City. You know that, and you'll hear more about this from this wonderful panel we have today. It's clear, and I think there's just so much that's being talked about now. I feel like we're driving, or at least trying to drive toward a new social compact. That's how I feel about this work. Among parents, local governments, and the people that parents pay taxes to, and the employers who need an expanded and stable workforce. But here's the thing, and this is where Lyft comes to play in this. The community development industry has not focused deeply enough on this sector, and that's because there aren't yet the tools and the resources and programs that we really need to create meaningful change and systematic change, similar to what we as CDFIs have been able to bring to housing and to charter schools and to health clinics and to small businesses more broadly. So we are working to change that. And that's why we invited you here today to talk about that and to enlist you in this work more deeply. Lyft, as you may know, focused our strategic plan on racial equity and in the areas where we felt there were deepest disparities that we felt Lyft could make a difference in. And we identified early care and education as well as affordable housing. Those are the two areas we've doubled down on. Our mission is grounded in the belief that every individual in the United States deserves to live in a community of opportunity, equity, and well-being. That's our vision. And we've been doing early care in that regard for 25 years, and again, almost 10 years in New York City. It's amazing. We started this work so long ago under a welfare to work contract in San Francisco. That's how long we've been doing this. And we did that then to support the parents. Once we got engaged and once we got into the facilities, we saw the desperate need for facilities work. And that's who Lyft is. That's the work that we do. And we then began to orient the work towards facilities improvements to better support the kids, knowing, as you know, that the classroom is the third teacher and sometimes the second teacher. And now we've been driven more recently by brain science, which shows how critical early care and education is for infants and toddlers. The need is so much more profound well before pre-K, and you all know. We do all this and we provide technical assistance for the operators as well. We know that these investments are powerful. It's a triple benefit. You all know that. Parents, children, operators, and more. And that's hard to find in our sector for investments. That's really hard to find. We believe that early care and education is the single biggest driver for children's long-term health and for their economic success. And that's why we've invested so deeply in this work. And that's why we have such a large team working in 7 cities. I've actually lost track, which means there's not only a triple benefit to making investments in this work, there's enormous leverage in investing in a platform like LIF with the level of commitment, with the subject matter expertise, and the capital that we can bring to the table. That's really what you're going to hear a lot about today. Our focus is to provide advisory services and fund management services to support state and local governments while engaging in advocacy at the federal level. We do that because we want systems change, and that's what's needed to create that new social compact I talked about. And we're doing it with great results, as I've described: Oregon, California, DC, LA, Atlanta, Houston. We're really rolling this work. Those are results and expertise that we will bring to New York City to expand and deepen the work that we've already been creating in New York City. And that's why it's so important for this discussion today. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And let me get out of the way and bring on the real experts. And our next, I'm going to invite up Jessica Sager, who is on the LIF board and actually a person in her own right, but I should say that second. Jessica is the vice chair of our board. She's many of you know her, but briefly the co-founder and CEO of All Our Kin, a national organization providing training for family care providers and training partner organizations across the country to support those operators as well. I'm going to embarrass you, so it's going to take 30 more seconds. Jessica's been an incredible addition to our board and is actually leading our board in thinking about this work. And All Our Kin's been a partner in work that we've done here in New York City. But not only do we think she's fantastic, but recently she was named to the Care 100 list of Americans doing the most to reimagine and rehumanize our care system. Well, so without further ado, to you, Jessica, and thank you for all you've done for us.
I'm very honored by that introduction. And Dan, it is truly a joy and an honor to serve as the vice chair of the Low Income Investment Fund. As Dan mentioned, I am the co-founder and chief executive officer of All Our Kin. We have been working with and for family child care educators, first in New Haven, then New York, and now across the nation for 25 years. It is our organization's mission and my personal mission to ensure that all children are safe, loved, and thriving, that every parent can go to work knowing that their children are safe, loved, and cared for, and that every educator can build wealth and feel supported and honored in the incredibly difficult and important work that we do. We have been working with family child care educators as All Our Kin since 2018, helping them become licensed and set up their businesses, supporting them in their educational training for children, and supporting them as business people and entrepreneurs as well. In that capacity, it has been my pleasure to partner with LIF, and what I have seen has inspired me so much that the moment Dan asked me to join the board, I jumped at the chance without hesitation, because it is truly incredible to be part of LIF's work. So let me talk about LIF's work for a minute. As I said, my personal mission is to transform the childcare system. And I believe that what LIF is doing is a critical part of making that happen. As a CDFI, LIF brings a really unique knowledge of capital and how to deploy capital to build childcare facilities, both family childcare and center-based facilities that are rooted in neighborhoods, that create safe, welcoming experiences for children, and that enable educators to thrive as business people. LIF's knowledge of facilities development is unparalleled, as is LIF's knowledge of economic development within the childcare space. And what LIF has done here in New York City is to both help build childcare businesses and bring providers of services like All Our Kin together with educators through services like the Hub, which I have had the great pleasure and honor to be a part of. One of the many things about LIF that is unique is their deep and genuine commitment to racial equity and to ensuring that every educator and family in all parts of what we know, frankly, is an inequitable city where resources are not distributed fairly, are getting the supports that they need to build sustainable childcare businesses and have access to care. LIF is also unique in its focus on relationships. So you will hear later today from a family childcare educator about what her interactions, what the team at LIF have been like. In every interaction that I have had as a board member, as a human being, and as a member of All Our Kin with LIF, I have seen that LIF is an organization that truly lives its values and partners with educators in an authentic and equitable way. So you add those equitable relationships to LIF's unique dual knowledge set around early childhood and economic and facilities development, I think you have a really powerful combination that is not like anything else you will see in this city. So I'm a huge champion of LIF. I do not join their board or any board lightly, and I stand here today to say I stand behind this organization. You have a whole panel that's going to talk to you, so I'm not going to take much more of your time. But I do want to just very briefly introduce Angie Garlick, LIF's Senior Vice President for Early Care and Education. I am not going to embarrass Angie with a long introduction because I think many of you know her and her track record speaks for itself. But let me say, I have 25 years in early childhood education. I thought that was a lot. Angie has 30. And really throughout those 30 years, Angie has been a trailblazer at the government level, at the community level, in all ways changing this early childhood field. It's really a joy to work with her, and I'm thrilled that she's going to speak with you here today. Angie, over to you.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, it has been 30 years. And when I first started at LIF, which was 5 years ago yesterday, I had come from almost 20 years of work at the local level and had one of my first experiences fresh out of college working with teenagers. And I soon learned and believed myself that we need to start earlier. So, I'm here to talk to you about things that, a lot of these research things that we didn't quite know 30 years ago, but have become very clear now, which is 90% of a child's brain develops in the first 5 years of life and most in the first 3 years of life. We all know this now. This is like a regular data point that we talk about, but it is one of those things that still keeps me passionate and involved and committed to the work of early care and education. So I'm really happy to be here. Really glad that you're all here for us to talk to you a little bit more about the Low Income Investments Fund's plans and vision for New York and the team that we have. So thank you to all of our partners. Many of you are here today, and to our amazing staff, particularly Amy and Yadi, who are doing the day-to-day work directly with our early childhood educators. So in terms of New York, and I want to just say thank you to many of you have either commissioned this research or have done this research or have contributed to this research. But Dan spoke a little bit about it, and I feel like, we all live this or read about it or experience it every day. But early care and education is not affordable, right? It's not, there are not enough licensed spaces in New York City. And more than 80% of New Yorkers can't even afford childcare, even just for one child. And there's a lot fewer programs in New York City than there were 9 years ago. And despite the fact that there's more children, and I think our panelists are going to tell you a little bit more about how many more children are in New York City that need childcare. And 90% of programs across the state say they're understaffed. So we know that there are many challenges plaguing the sector. And for the workforce, they earn 2%. They're in the 2%. So 98% of people working earn more than early care and education workers. And they experience poverty at twice the level as other New Yorkers, and over 65% of them are drawing down public benefits because of their low wages. And that's actually higher than in some other parts of the country, like in California, where it's about 55%. Another statistic that I had our team pull yesterday is of our grantees across the country, there's over 7,000 of them. We pull them to find out, do they own their program, or do they lease their program? Nationally for us, it's about, for home-based providers, about 80% of them own their programs, but in New York City, it's about 15%. So those are additional statistics that are challenges for these women who are running businesses. And you're going to hear from one of them later on the panel. So our commitment to equity, as Jessica was saying earlier, it's about building early care and education supply. We need it to be equitable. For us, it's about racial equity, it's about gender equity, and it's also about climate equity. And some of the statistics on the right-hand side talk about how Black and brown communities, the women who run these businesses, who are majority women and women of color, are additionally challenged, either by not being able to have their businesses thrive because of lack of funding. And then families who are families of color have more challenges. And then children are more disproportionately impacted by extreme weather and extreme weather events, or bad air, or extreme heat. So all of these things really lead us and have led us to say we have to do more and we need to take action. So our new plan for building early care and education supply in the United States, I'm going to talk just for a minute or two about that, and then I'm going to talk about our plans for New York. So we, as Dan said, we've been doing this for 25 years, and we are the nation's leading CDFI in this work and focused on building early care and education supply. And our unique approach in thinking about not just early care and education, but also housing and other community facilities is really important. So these are hot off the presses numbers. As of the end of the third quarter, we've invested $455 million over the work that we've done, and serving over 379,000 children. And we believe by the end of this year, we're going to reach $500 million in investment. But that is not enough. We need to do more, and we really need partners like all of you to help us do that work. So we not only want to expand how and where we build supply and quality, but we want to promote childcare as essential to our nation's economy and making sure our economy thrives. The women who do this work, they're anchors in our community. They're serving their community, and that is such an important part of making sure that, parents feel comfortable going to work and our economy thrives. So you know all of this. And this is just to tell you that we work with center-based providers and educators as well as home-based educators. And about 50% of our investment and our work is in home-based providers. We want to make sure that families have choices. And a lot of times a center may not be the best choice. It could be many times, but families need choices that work for them. And we are committed to making sure that all of those choices are made available in communities. So taking our experience as a partner, taking the current opportunity, the visibility, the increased visibility that the pandemic and other crises have laid bare the need in early care and education, that is one of the reasons why we have this moment. We have a president who is mentioning childcare. We have employers who are more engaged in childcare and aware of it than they ever have been before. And we have the current ongoing need. So the unique expertise that LIFT has. And then what we decided to do is engage in a lengthy and robust strategic planning process to figure out how to scale the work. And that is all leading to our goal, which is to think about and really commit to expanding the early care and education supply in our country. So this is the new mindset. What if we actually put children and early care and education at the center of how we built our communities? this is where what LIFT believes is how we can get to communities of opportunity, equity, and well-being. So this is our model. This is the model that we've been doing, that we have honed, and we are excited to bring to New York City. So we believe that there are several components. First of all, from the expertise that we have, we need a fund. We need an early care and education public-private fund like we've been doing in San Francisco. And I'm going to bring a guest up from San Francisco to talk to you a little bit about that. That's coupled with a variety of financial products, grants, loans, deep technical assistance, and then capacity building for our providers and for our community members, for people who need to know more about this work and how to do it well. And then our advisory work. As Dan said, we've been working in places like San Diego, South Dakota, Washington, D.C., Multnomah County, to help them understand this, do landscape scans and help them understand the facilities needs even more deeply and help make the case to build supply. And then to use our platform to do influence and be a thought partner. So, panels and conferences, and then papers and social media. We really try to be visible. So I am going to take a moment to bring Michelle Rutherford up here, formerly with the City and County of San Francisco, who was one of my early mentors and has really been a partner for many, many years and witnessed the partnership that we have with the City of San Francisco. Very successful and something we'd like to replicate here. Michelle.
Thanks, Angie. So I'm here really to bear witness, because when we talk about the beginnings of LIFT's work, and LIFT was doing the work before San Francisco stepped in, but it really was welfare reform that launched a partnership between a private foundation, family foundation, the city, our community development office, and I was at social services at the time, trying to make sure there was room for that these children who suddenly their parents were going to go to work, that had places to go. And Willie Brown who was mayor at the time, was running around telling everybody, build childcare. And we were like, and with what? And how do we do that? And so there was a lot of interest, and really partly from the foundation side, encouraging the city to partner with LIFT because of its deep community development work. We entered into contract and developed a plethora of loan products and technical assistance strategies to increase care in the city. Since that time, 32,000 children have benefited from the slots that LIFT helped us build. And we doubled our infant toddler capacity in centers in a matter of several years. And really, the thing that the magic of this, and it's not magic, it's technical expertise with a really deep bench on the loan side of the house and on the technical assistance side of the house, meeting providers where they are. So whether it's a new family childcare provider just starting, they don't do this to become a business. They do it because they want to care for kids. And so helping through the licensing process, and we took a lot of our state contractors and offered the opportunity for subsidized loans if they delivered on certain things, such as building infant toddler care, and they split their contracts and made room for vouchers and made room for private payers, and then mixed it up so we didn't just have all the subsidized kids alone in one place in those neighborhoods where we were able to do that. And I'm not naive. I know New York a little bit. I'm looking at Barb, and I had done some consulting here, and the scale is huge here, right? The need is huge here, and you'll hear more about that this morning. But the need isn't different in the way that this field is still under-resourced, that there's just a great need for an investment that's the backbone upon which you can build the rest of the system. I can't help build a system of quality care, which San Francisco has done, without having the spaces. And beautiful spaces matter. And for even in terms of our quality improvement efforts, redesigning spaces, renovating spaces, building new sites, expanding care in existing centers, all those things, it matters to have it matters to the quality in terms of what the facility looks like. And it's not just window dressing or curb appeal, it's sight lines for the teachers and a break room and the kinds of things that are really important, that are fundamental, that then great people who do this work on a day-to-day basis, the family child care providers and the teachers and directors in the centers, can deliver what's needed. And there's a lot more else out there that needs to happen, but it can't happen without this fundamental work. And I think what's so great about LIF is that in meeting communities where they are really understanding those communities of color and respecting them and partnering with them in the same way we partnered with LIF at the city, and then that feedback loop of what do we need to change, what isn't working anymore, and redesigning. And the work is never over, but it's that perfecting it and meeting the field in terms of where the field is now. And the field is changing. The federal regulations about subsidies is changing, and as that changes, making sure that you're staying up on what the changing needs are for your community. And New York needs this. I think you're going to hear more about the needs, but I just can't say enough. Like, I don't have enough time to share all the stories. I could spend the whole day just telling story after story. But there were times when the nimbleness of LIF, when the state budget didn't pass and our contractors weren't being paid so they couldn't make payroll, that we were able to flow the money out through LIF in a way that I couldn't from government on a dime, that LIF was there and we had built the infrastructure into the contract, so they were doing emergency bridge loans for those centers that then kept them open. And everybody else in the state was like, how are you doing that? How are you doing that? I'm like, you have to get in relationship with LIF. And there are other CDFIs, but just in my experience, I'm just such a fan of LIF, and I've always been a fan of Angie. But and now Angie's at LIF. Like, how great is that? And the staff is so great. So I just appreciate the chance to bear witness today, and encourage you all to really think about that investment, because it's investment in kids, families, communities, small business. It is such a win-win-win, and there's just so little that we get to do that is a win-win-win-win like that. And so I'm so glad you're all here, and think about how you're going to partner with LIF to make this happen for New York.
Wow. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So what I want to say is, I'm not going to go over the details, but I really want to thank a couple of our partners. This is just a like a timeline of the work that we've done over the last 9 years, but particularly want to thank our funders and Early Childhood Partners NYC at the New York Community Trust, that not only gave us a seed grant to plan for, but also then to launch the Early Care Education Family Child Care Technical Assistance Hub. And I want to thank Ramapo for Children, all our kin, and Parent Child Plus who are here. Thank you so much for all your partnership. With the Technical Assistance Hub, we've served over 200 family child care providers across New York City. And we also have other funders, a few of which you will hear from later today on our panel. And so the current work that we're doing in New York are seeds that we're planting that we really want to expand. So we are providing some financial products, grants and loans. I want to thank Alphadyne for helping us with grants to help support children with special needs, and a bridge loan to help family child care providers with cash flow issues, tailored technical assistance, including access to child care management systems, a statewide cohort on family child care, and the Family Child Care TA Hub, Family Child Care NYC, and then policy advocacy. So we've also wrote a paper on the flood risks to family child care in New York City that got a lot of visibility and additional policy advocacy alongside many of you who I know are doing a lot of that hard work. All right, so our impact since 2015 is over $3.6 million invested during the pandemic to help businesses keep their bills paid, over $1 million to help respond to victims of Hurricane Ida, and then 400 small businesses served, 7,700 children supported through those spaces, and over 1,783 hours of technical assistance, most of which were done by Yadi and Amy, so thank you again to them. And so here is our vision and goals for New York. We really want to ensure that childcare programs can thrive and that they're supported, that family childcare programs are a valid and supported option, and that they have the resources they need to have their businesses be successful. And that low-income families have greater access to the childcare that they need that meets their needs. And then we have public and private partners like many of you who are all putting in more funding and resources to help support a healthy, accessible, and equitable early care and education system in New York City and across New York State. So this is the big reveal. This is what we want to do. We would like to establish at least a $10 million fund for childcare facilities across the city that we can leverage with other funds that we know are in process at the state level. When we have a fund, we can bring additional things to that fund. So if you think about that earlier slide of our model, you bring a variety of financial products, you bring deep, robust, responsive technical assistance, you do supportive policy work to figure out the barriers to providing a better supply, whether it's land use, permitting, those kinds of things. There's a lot of barriers. And then also join with partners to advocate for a better system and a more equitable system. And then access to capital. As a financial institution, that's what we know well. So how can we ensure that the educators who are doing this work have the access to the financial products to help make sure their businesses thrive? So this is what we would like to do in New York City. And we really invite all of you to partner with us to help make this vision happen. So our providers deserve resources for their businesses to thrive. We need to do more, and we thank you for being here to think about that and partner with us on that. So, thank you, everyone. I'm really excited that I have several members of the EC leadership team here. I want to recognize Kim, who leads our capacity building work, Shelley, who leads our state advisory and policy work. And I'm going to bring Tiffany up. Tiffany Mobley is our National Director for Facilities Funds Management, and she's going to moderate our panel. We're really glad to have her as part of our team. Tiffany.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. If our panelists can come on up. Okay. Make yourself comfortable, sit anywhere. Thank you for being here today. While the panel gets settled, I'll just do a brief round of introductions. My name is Tiffany Mobley. I'll be the moderator for today's panel. This panel brings together childcare business owners, funders, and civic leaders to discuss the critical state of the early education sector. This panel will highlight the innovative and multifaceted approaches LIFT is and has taken to address challenges across the ECE ecosystem. It will also highlight LIFT's leadership in structuring responsive funding solutions, the effectiveness of our collaborative partnerships, and the urgent need for comprehensive support across the sector. With that, I'm not going to go in a particular order. I have Fabian here, but I'll start at the end over there with Shantae. Shantae Parrish is the owner-operator of a group family daycare in the Bronx, Jump for Success. She has a contract with New York City's Department of Education, and her program has been rated by Quality Stars. In 2022, Shantae was honored by the UFT, the United Federation of Teachers, with the esteemed Community Champion Award for her commitment and dedication to ECE. Thank you for being here, Shantae. Next, I'm gonna introduce Tova Gottesman. Tova is the Interim Executive Director for the New York City's Mayor's Office of Child Care and Early Childhood Education. It's a lot. This office was formed in 2023 to lead the city's ECE strategy and to coordinate communication, policy, and strategic planning among city agencies, families, providers, ECE experts, and the private sector. Thank you, Tova, for being here. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa. I should let you all know that as she entered, I had to get the correct pronunciation of Deutsche Bank. How did I do? Yes. Okay, great. Lisa Talma is the Vice President of Philanthropic Initiatives at Deutsche Bank and manages the bank's U.S. Community Development Philanthropic arm. She represents the bank on multiple funder collaboratives that focus on youth and family homelessness, neighborhood planning, and community development. Thank you for being here, Lisa. Hello, Fabian. Fabian Pawlowski, did I pronounce that right?
Perfect.
Okay, great, I'm doing good, guys. He is of Alphadyne Asset Management,
Correct.
Which is an alternative investment management firm. Alphadyne Asset Management has been a Lyft partner since the beginning of the pandemic. His firm has invested in Lyft and supported key initiatives that have allowed us to support children with disabilities. Thank you for being here, baby. Now, a little bit about me. So again, my name is Tiffany Mobley. I am the National Director here at Lyft. I'm based out of the New York office, and I've been here about 9 months. Yeah, such a long time. It's been fun. Prior to joining Lyft, I worked for various New York City agencies, such as the Administration for Children's Services, ACS, the Department of Youth and Community Development, and most recently, the Department of Education. Throughout my 16-year public service career, I've been a part of a large number of ECE, or early childhood and education, initiatives that were designed to really reimagine the ECE sector, maximize funding, increase program access, and provider quality. Back in 2012, it was Early Learn, and most recently, it was the Birth to 5, Head Start, Family Child Care Network, 3K expansion, all of those initiatives. And again, all of them were designed to reimagine the early childhood sector. I thought it would be helpful to share that context with you all today because it acts as a testament to let you all know that I've seen the investments, the benefit of investments into the ECE sector. I also witnessed and learned that it takes more than government funding to strengthen the sector and truly support home-based businesses, which, as Angie has mentioned, are led primarily by women of color. Now, with that, enough about me. I'd like to turn it over to the panel, and I'll start with Shantae. Hi, Shantae.
Hello. Hello.
Can you tell us a little bit about your program and your experience?
Oh, yes, yes. I'm a little nervous, but
take your time, it's okay.
No pressure, no pressure. I've been doing this since 2011, and it's been very challenging at first because, you know, I'm a home base, so people don't take home base serious. They just like, I don't want a babysitter. I'm looking for more than a babysitter. I'm looking for, you know, I'll say centers and things like that. But, you know, I try to tell parents, I try to tell anybody that I'm working with, like Lyft, they took me serious. They knew that she's somebody that is a hard worker, that she wants to provide for the families and do things. So when the pandemic hit, it was like shutdown mode. We wasn't considered essential and things. It had to take the pandemic to now for people to realize how much they needed us. And I was like, yes, about time, like, you know, exactly. So, I mean, a sad moment had to be a yes moment, you know, but it was still like, you know, and when I got in touch with Amy, and she just was like, yes, we here. I was able to help provide for parents that couldn't pay because Amy helped me. Other than that, I didn't have any money to give to help for parents to come for free because I lost everything. So it was just such a blessing. And it's sad to say during the pandemic, it was a blessing because that was the worst time ever. And it was the best time ever for me. And it still bring like tears almost to my eyes to have to say that. But with Lyft helping me and getting a one-on-one service with Yari and I don't want to botch it, sorry. It was just, it was the best that I could experience, and it's still I'm getting help. I'm trying to open up a center so I could expand and help families that I know need it in my area, because the low income area, they can't afford it. And it's just, everything requires funds. So long as anybody can help, if I can help, I'm down for it. And I thank Lyft so much. That's it.
Thank you, Shantae. Hearing you talk about those challenges, you are not alone. Sadly, there are tons of programs that have experienced similar challenges. Tova, can you hop in here and discuss the current ECE landscape and the challenges that you've been hearing from providers?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everybody. Tova Gottesman again, Mayor's Office of Child Care and Early Childhood Education. As Tiffany shared, we're a new office. We were established out of Mayor Adams' Blueprint for Childcare, which was released in June 2022. Barb Carlson's here, and she was instrumental in getting that across the finish line. And that report calls for making sure families have access to affordable, high quality, equitable early childhood experiences. New York City's childcare system, as Angie said, is vast. Right now, there's 170,000 children ages birth, 6 weeks, to 13, up to 19 if they have special needs, enrolled in the city's childcare system. That's across Administration for Children's Services, New York City Public Schools, the Human Resources Administration. It's a lot of children. Although just in the past 2 years, there have been more than 32,000 children who've been able to enroll into the publicly funded childcare system, which is great. And a lot of that was due to New York City, but great partnership, New York City's advocacy to the state, but really great partnership with the state to increase that income threshold up to the highest level, federal maximum of 85% of the state median income. So now a family of 4 earning nearly $100,000 can qualify for a subsidy. And that's outstanding. And that has led to now more than 230,000 children, more than 230,000 children, I'll just say that again, can now qualify for a child care subsidy. That is...
Can we just take a moment there? Sorry.
That's great. I think in terms of scale and some challenges with this system is it's a lot of families to support. It's a lot of more families who need support. And so right now the city's child care system and what my office, it's myself and one other person, what we strive to do is we are coordinating and leading strategy and planning across a dozen city agencies, and also really looking to form partnerships with important and key ECE stakeholders in New York City, like Lyft, like All Our Kin, Ed Trust, Daycare Council, because it really is a whole kind of city, whole government approach that's needed to both support the families, but also support our providers. Our providers rely on a mix of funding. They might have kids who have ACS vouchers, they might have a private pay, they might have a child who's enrolled through New York City public schools. That's a lot of different funding and revenue and requirements. You have, the state requirements to make sure that you're complying. That's a lot for one single provider to have to handle on an everyday basis. And so I think one thing that this office, and one thing that was clear in the mayor's commitment to strengthening the childcare system is really how do we grow and expand and support our home-based childcare providers, our family childcare providers. And that's really the next frontier that this office and the administration is going to be focusing on, is how to strengthen that sector, because they do play such a key role in so many communities across New York City. I think there's a little over 5,000 now in New York. And so there's a lot of opportunity to do more to expand that footprint and also support them.
Thank you, Tova. With our partnership, our recently announced partnership, we are super excited to continue partnering with this work, in this work with you. Let me hop on over to Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Can you share how your partnership with LIFT came about and what shared goals inspired this collaboration and partnership?
Sure, thank you, Tiffany. So Deutsche Bank has a pretty lengthy history with LIFT. We have been a lender to LIFT for the past 20 years. And in the grant space, our relationship really developed back in 2014 with the call for universal pre-K in New York City. And in that space, we granted to LIFT to sort of build the capacity of the early childcare education centers, both through the build out of spaces, but also through the provision of technical assistance. And so given our history with LIFT and our knowledge of their deep expertise in education and childcare and community revitalization, we knew that they were well positioned to address the needs of family child care centers receiving governmental subsidies. So within the scope that was presented of what LIFT is enacting in this space, Deutsche Bank is helping to seed the launch of the Small Business Repayable Grant Program. And this will provide repayable grants or microloans to family child care centers.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah. Hi, Fabian. Could you share a little bit about how your partnership with LIFT came about?
Sure. I guess I wanted to start by thanking you guys.
You're welcome.
It's very humbling to be here. I'm not a I'm just an employee, and I got the gift of being able to work with you guys, and it's been great. So I just wanted to thank you guys for the work that you do. I work for an asset management firm, so a financial sector. We, in the middle of the COVID crisis, wanted to a bit more active and began a social engagement. At the time, just really COVID relief. We got helped and then identified LIFT at the time. And the word that came to us was a bit what Daniel was saying. It's leverage. In our world, we wanted to help people with kids. We wanted to help kids. We wanted to help people to find work and go back to work. And we wanted to help people in small communities. And so we found you guys, and it was a jackpot. 1 in 3. So we engaged with you. And then since then, obviously, COVID is behind us, but we redefined a bit the social engagement mandate for the foundation and found EC as one of the 4 pillars of our engagement. And strangely enough, the engagement is really around those four pillars. It's workforce development, it's community, it's education, and the last one is I forgot the last one. Okay, it's the 3 one. But again, when we think about LIFT and our engagement with them, it just touches on the three pillars. So it's very helpful for me when I make the case to the foundation board. Hey, I got those guys, and they help the community, they help workforce development, and they help education, and I make it easy. And then so our relationship has evolved initially on COVID relief. Then we went to help on the care center. And some relief there, and then more recently we engaged, and thank you, Amy, for all the work here. We began to discuss the special needs kids, and we had a very constructive discussion, which led to the creation of a program. And I have to say, got everyone very excited back in the office. I got to bring back the stories, bring back the engagement. So thank you guys for that.
Thank you. Tova, what comprehensive strategies do you think are necessary to grow and sustain the ECE ecosystem?
Money.
Say it again, Tova, say it again.
A lot of money. I think about kind of maybe 4 or 5 buckets that we're trying to, build around our next set of strategies and priorities, and that's around wages and workforce, outreach enrollment, operations, partnership with the private sector and philanthropy, and then policy. I think for wages and workforce, we know that the wages are far too low, and that is also contributing to a recruitment and retention problem for childcare providers, whether or not that's from the cooks to the assistant teachers to the lead teachers to the custodian, certainly to the ed director, site director. I think in New York City, there's a lot of opportunity to really tap into young people in high school, in DYCD out of school time programs, after school time programs, who are working in SYEP, Summer Youth Employment Program, who are naturally expressing an interest to work with children. And how do we, because they're at a placement for the summer or working part-time, how do we then harness that and start to build around, hey, if you want to look at a career in early childhood education, here's what it could look like for you. You could get some college credits if you participate in this particular program. You could get some work experience. And I think there's a lot of untapped potential amongst high schoolers and amongst folks working in the after school space that could maybe really start to fill our pipeline, because we know that there's going to be a lot of providers retiring in the next few years. And so how do we backfill, but also how do we expand to support all of the families who do need childcare. I think from outreach and enrollment, I also think there's an awareness problem because our families are challenged. New York City, there's a lot of ways you can get into the childcare system. There's Head Start, there's 3K, there's pre-K, there's infant toddler through DOE, there's ACS vouchers, there's HRA if you're on cash assistance. That's a lot of doors. And the city has not, the city needs to do, and this is something that this office will be working on, is really more of a one-stop shop opportunity to point families to one door instead of 5. And so I think that way we can help bring awareness to what is available in New York City for them, and then also helping them apply for childcare. We know that facilitated enrollment can be really successful, so that families actually bring all of the right documentation, because for many of the city's childcare options, you do need quite a lot of documentation to prove you're eligible. So there's a lot more partnership with CBOs and trusted members in the community to help families apply for childcare. And then on the operations side, I'm sure you've had some challenges with city bureaucracy. I hear it every day. And so how do we make sure our own internal infrastructure can support the expansion and currently the scale of our childcare system? And I think that's everything from permitting and looking at the permitting process and where's there opportunity, to looking at payments and how you report attendance. But also I think just how do we stand up more childcare programs that are open non-traditional hours? We know a lot of New Yorkers work overnight shifts, weekends, et cetera. There are only 87 centers in New York City that are licensed to operate during non-traditional hours. Only 87 centers. That's not enough to support the workforce need. And that's where family childcare plays a very, very important role, because many of them are open 10, 11, 12 hours. But we need to figure out how we can stand up more of those programs to support more families. And then on the partnership, I mean, that's part of the reason why I wanted to partner with you all. There's a lot of opportunity and innovation happening in the childcare sector. And I think, I know that this office, we have a partnership with the Robin Hood Foundation to test and pilot new and innovative ideas. And I think there's a lot of untapped potential there as well, where city dollars might not be the first pot of money, but certainly philanthropic and foundation money can be really helpful. And then, of course, on the policy front, there's a lot to do both at the state level, but also I think on the federal level, and really for New York City to develop a federal legislative agenda, childcare legislative agenda, which I don't think we've had a very robust federal legislative agenda to date. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Thank you, Tova. I agree. Lisa, could you just talk for a minute about what specifically drove Deutsche Bank to the ECE sector, and why now?
Yeah.
So at Deutsche Bank, I sit within the Community Development Finance Group, and we are the team that is responsible for the bank's Community Reinvestment Act obligations. So what that means is that we do lending, we do investing, and we do grant making with the aim of supporting organizations and social enterprises that seek to achieve positive outcomes for low and moderate income populations. So we're seeking to serve low and moderate income populations. That's our bottom line. And we're looking at ways to enable financial social resilience, stability, mobility, and prosperity. And for our strategy, we are looking at New York City in particular and seeking to support it so that it can be resilient and inclusive in certain focus areas. We're looking at affordable homes. We're looking at resilient economies that are bolstered by small businesses. We're looking at inclusive access to capital, high quality education, health supports, creative spaces, and environmental resilience and justice. So that's a lot of areas, as you noted. And so while we work with a wide range of areas and a wide range of products, one consistent struggle that we've been hearing from the field is in the nonprofit space and in the space of businesses that are dependent upon governmental contracts is this struggle to sort of sustain operations given the time that's needed to for contracts to be registered and processed and paid. And so we heard about the child care center struggles and the struggles to meet payroll for folks forgoing salary so that they could pay staff and just generally sort of teetering on that edge. And so in this issue, we saw a space where we felt like we could be impactful, where our funds could really help in terms of stabilizing effort.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Fabian, knowing that there's a need for public and private partnerships, how valuable has it been for your organization to work with Lyft? Wait, did I say that right?
This has been great. I think initially for us, we were just scrambling to find ways to get money through the door. It was COVID relief, and we were blessed to actually have a pretty good year that year and wanted to help in the COVID relief in the New York area. And so we got help to identify you guys initially, and then I would say the thing that's been very great is to be able to engage with the team and get a vision of what's on the field and get a better sense of the needs. It's kind of hard for us in the private sector to really get a sense for where to put money. Every cause is a good cause, but what really resonated with us was this idea that in engaging with you, we were going to have a larger impact. And I found the 4 pillars. Which was small business development.
Awesome.
So we have workforce development and small business. And so in engaging with you guys over the course of the COVID relief and the thereafter, we really find ourselves sort of matching all the social engagement things that we discussed, right? So the community helping education, helping small businesses thrive, and then helping workforce development in newcomers. So but we couldn't do that on our own, and we had to be educated. And so I think that was very helpful in the process for us.
Thank you. I have a ton of more questions. I can keep this conversation going, but I want to be mindful of time, one, and I also want to give you all the opportunity to ask the panel any questions. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, ideas for the panel? Don't all shout out once. I will start calling on people. Hello, Janice.
So I was wondering, in a post heads up world, whether thank you, whether Lyft has had to make any strategic changes in response to what's happening in the larger world of work. People working from home, more shift work, unpredictable hours. I mean, that has huge impacts on providers and their ability to maintain self-sufficiency. So I'm both looking at a provider, but also looking at Lyft. So whoever wants to take that question, thank you.
So as I said, I've been here for 9 months, so I'm going to pass it over to the expert.
Well, we really appreciate Tiffany's expertise in our New York work, but I would say it's really just helped us double down on our efforts to support the range of care options that families need. We have started some initial conversations with LIA, the Department of Commerce, in thinking about how do we help meet the needs of employers that are coming into communities and offering thousands of new jobs that may be, for factories that may be operating 24/7. So how can we make sure we're doing that? And I think that it means we need a full range of options. We need family, friend, and neighbor care. We need family child care. We need child care centers. And making sure that there's strong community infrastructure to support that. That's important to us too, in rural areas as well as in New York City. So how can we make sure that, folks like Shantae and other providers and educators like her don't feel so isolated, that they feel like they know where they can reach out, that they can get support from the amazing partners that we have. And then using data to help inform this, like what do these employers really need? What are their working hours going to be? What kind of care is going to be helpful? And then centering the families and the educators. We can't just slap a new structure onto something that may not work for the educators or may not work for families. We know that we've done that a lot. In the history of our country, we have assumed that we know the needs of what the providers and the educators and the families need. So we really have to partner with them, put their needs at the center, and build the structure around them. And that's what we're trying to do at LIF.
Could I say something to that? And I know that Lyft do that. They do a lot of one-on-one with me and helping me, because not only am I a provider for the kids, I still have to be mentally stable to take care of 3-year-olds. Because sometimes they come in and you be like, what's happening here? So, so they I'm not just a provider, I'm the parents' counselor. They come in sometimes crying on my shoulder. Sometimes they come in, they don't even have food. They hungry. I'm providing that to them. I'm giving them clothes. I'm doing that kind of stuff. I have basket for the kids because when they don't have clothes due to the weather. So when I call Lyft, they are my ears and venting, my counselors. I'll be like, please just hear me out. Listen, could you help me with this? I need this. And when they could provide that for me, that's providing for everybody in my community. And it's great. It's great. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Shantae. Shantae, you've also been a part of our FC Care, or the Technical Assistance Hub. Do you want to talk about what your experience has been like with that?
That was part of the one-on-one service that I get to help. Right now, Yari, we be on the phone all the time, and she's helping me with trying to open a center. Because a lot of times with funding, they scared to invest. It's hard. You invest in money. They I want to make sure you're going to be great. I don't want to lose. And the fact that Lyft take on and see how great and my potentials are and I'm going to bring and help the community is just overwhelming for me, that we're working on trying to open up a center, do things. And a lot of places are saying, oh, you already have to have the center. You already have to have it structured and built, and then we'll help you. Wow, what about me? So as far as when they come in, they're helping me and do that. And thank you.
You're welcome. I'll just say that the biggest takeaway that everyone should leave here with today is that Lyft is great. People enjoy working with us. Are there any other questions that we can take?
Can I say?
Yes.
So today, the Mayor's Office of Child Care and Early Childhood Education, mouthful, we officially launched our partnership together to support the Technical Assistance Hub. I think it was a year ago I got Barb again, popped back into my life, and said, there's this great hub that's going to be launching, and it's going to offer free technical assistance. And I said, okay, I'm 6 months on the job. Okay, I'll remember this, I promise. And because we're a new office, I get a lot of phone calls every day from providers who are saying, I'm so glad I just have somebody to talk to because I bounce around city agency to city agency. And they have a lot of questions for me and I'm not an expert at running a family childcare business. I'm not. And so when the opportunity represented itself, I thought, oh, here's what the Technical Assistance Hub can do. Here's where I can point providers to when they reach out to me to say, hey, I need help with X, Y, Z. And so I'm really excited to be able to refer more family childcare providers to you all. But there's a lot of opportunity, and I know that just to say that for this office and this administration, we are really interested in investing on, making sure providers have supports to run their business, because you're the CEO, CFO, COO, custodian, you're the counselor to the parents. So, and you at the end of the day have to feed yourself and take care of your family and take care of your business, take care of your home. And so if there's ways that the city can help streamline or make it more efficient or reduce that burden, that's where the experts at the TA Hub and other organizations like All Our Kin, Daycare Council, et cetera, can really step in to support providers. And so how can we create more partnerships like that from the city with providers to the real experts? And so just want to say thanks for your continued partnership and patience to the team in the back. I appreciate you all very much and just look forward to working together more.
Thank you, Tova. Same. Any other questions? I'm going to start calling on people. You in the red shirt. No, I'm kidding.
Hi. Yeah, you referenced the very many ways that kids and families can get into childcare and early education in the city. And I'm wondering how you all think about the navigation side of that. On the TA Hub side for providers, it makes sense. There's maybe closer to one front door. Are there plans or is there a vision for what that could look like on the family side?
Yes. We are going to try to, because there are so many different city agencies and each of them have their own federal or state revenue that's supporting their program. There's a lot of legal things that will need to be sorted out, but we really do want to create like a one-stop page, childcare.nyc.gov. There would be a map of the city's childcare programs, which sounds like we should have one by now, but we don't. You have to toggle between 3 different websites, 2 city and 1 state, to get a full picture of the childcare programs in New York City. So we want to create a map. We want to put all the information into one place. We want to explore with, how are other localities who are using a mixed funding model to fund their childcare program? Is there a common application that could be used to capture initial information? What technology could exist to pre-populate forms for parents? Because we know we did launch My City a year ago, and we've had 37,000 families apply for childcare, which is amazing. But we also know there's the Head Start application, cash assistance, et cetera. And so how do we kind of build on that success and that technology to really make a one-stop shop? So absolutely, that's one of the top priorities.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. I think I have like a minute left. I think it's important to note the benefit of public and private partnerships. It's important to note the benefit of designing solutions that are responsive, meet programs and small home-based businesses where they are in a timely manner, in a manner that's easily accessible. So more to come. I'll end with that. More to come. LIF is great. More to come. And with that, I'm going to thank this lovely panel for your time. I know there was thank you. And I am going to invite LIF's esteemed president, Kim Latimer-Nelligan, up here to close us out. Thank you all. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Latimer-Nelligan is almost as hard as Deutsche Bank. Thank you. So very powerful panel. Thank you to panelists and to Tiffany again. So I have a very easy job today, which doesn't always happen. So I always like to acknowledge it when it does. First, I want to thank everyone for coming today and for participating and your commitment to ECE. Thank you so much. And secondly, to stand on everyone's shoulders who spoke today and recap the morning, which I think was terrific, which also makes my job easy. So Dan and Jessica and Angie clearly made the case for the why this work is so important. And I suspect by virtue of the fact that you're all here today in this room, you came to us kind of already understanding and having a deep appreciation for the why. And then Angie also talked about the why of New York City and Lyft's decision 2 years ago to really invest and double down on a bigger presence in New York and lay the groundwork for a long-term commitment to increasing the supply of childcare in New York City. And then you heard some very specific examples of the why from our panelists led by Tiffany. You heard from Tova, describing her work at the mayor's office and the scale and complexity of the New York City system. 170,000 children served, and the work, congratulations, on increasing the threshold for the minimum income required to receive subsidy. And I think if I did the math right, that's another 60,000 children who now can benefit from childcare in New York. However, there's not enough slots. And so we really appreciate the partnership that you were able to announce today to strengthen the FCC sector through working with us in the TA Hub. I also want to acknowledge Shantae, really amazing work that you do as a childcare provider. Thank you for sharing your very personal and compelling story of the challenges of providing what you do every day, and also your successes and your plan to open a center. Very exciting, and count us in. We are there for you to help you. Thank you. And so then finally, maybe the last question, and maybe the most important, which is why Lyft? A very fair question. And hopefully we went a ways towards answering that. First, Lyft is first among CDFIs in our commitment to and track record in the childcare sector, continuously supporting that for 30 plus years. And that commitment is reflected in our significant investment. Almost $500 million. I was so glad when I saw that $455 million number. I can now say almost $500 million. That's great. And our investment in almost 60 full-time childcare program officers at Lyft working locally across the country. And just to give you some perspective, that is over a third of Lyft's workforce. So just reflects the scope of and the depth of our commitment. And then you heard from Michelle Rutherford. Michelle, props for the longest commute of any of our guests. I think that's safe to say. We really appreciate your partnership over the years. So you heard about our track record and our impact in the Bay Area. Very important. You mentioned our technical expertise, our access to capital, our nimbleness, which I liked. But also, hopefully, what came through was that this work is done. It can only be done because it is such a heavy lift in partnership with all of you, in partnership with local government, with other stakeholders, policymakers, with providers, with funders. There's really no other way to do this work successfully when you're taking on such big challenges. And you also heard Angie describe our comprehensive strategy for preserving and creating supply locally and nationally. And this includes managing facility funds, capacity building, providing advisory services, and ensuring a holistic approach to childcare, which addresses the need of the children, the needs of the children's families, the needs of the operators, often as entrepreneurs supporting their own families and their workforce. And then you heard about Lyft's deep commitment to New York City. We've been working here in New York, where I'm based, for over 25 years and have a history of bridging and leveraging government and private resources to build and sustain community infrastructures. And that includes affordable housing, schools, health centers, and of course, childcare. And we are committed to increasing the supply of childcare in New York. And you also heard about our work in New York City from our friends Fabian and Lisa. Lisa reported on, highlighted, we were talking about it ahead of time. It was Deutsche Bank who really restarted our work in ECE in New York back in 2014. working with us on the bridge loan program for the mayor's UPK program at the time. And of course, now working with us on our repayable grant program. So we really appreciate that. And Fabian, we love working with you on the grants with the to support children with special needs. So important. And love the jackpot reference. That's great. Glad you feel that way in working with LIF. And also our vision, which Angie highlighted, which includes a long-term facility fund for New York City. And then you also heard about our current work, of course, our TA hub, which we've talked about, and really a testament to the collective effort and goes back to that partnership that I talked about. So important in what we do. So to maintain the momentum of the TA hub and our work in New York, that requires ongoing funding. It's a vital resource for providers. And so we hope you'll join us in supporting that. So again, I thank you for joining us today and your commitment to childcare. I invite each of you to take a closer look at LIFT's impact by walking around the room and seeing our gallery. And then I also invite you to join us in funding and sustaining the TA Hub. Dan, Angie, Jessica, and I, and the whole entire LIFT team here look forward to engaging with you this morning, in the future, and to forging new partnerships to continue supporting local providers and the New York City ECE ecosystem. So thank you. Thank you so much.